Auburn is not a place, it is a people. The loveliest village on the plains is more than a college sports venue, more than a university filled with historic buildings, more than a quaint little southern town. Its worth lies within its people, those that call Auburn home, whether that be for a single day at a time or for a lifetime. Much like our legendary Toomer's oak trees, our stories are the product of a firm foundation laid in the beginning of our Auburn story. These are the stories of the Auburn family. These are their roots.
War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of Auburn Roots, our journey of exploring and sharing the stories of your Auburn family members. We're going to be talking to someone who resides in Georgia currently, someone who has spent some time at the university in the 70s, and someone who is very, very integral to a specific tradition that we all love, that is Tiger Walk. And we're going to get into a little bit about what all that is about here in this episode. I want to welcome in my next guest to tell her Auburn roots, Miss Cindy Terry. Cindy, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure, War Eagle.
War Eagle is always to you, and as I told you pre-show, whether you see this as an honor or not, I just lay the blame at the feet of Kim Trimble since she recommended you. So you just, if at the end of this thing, if you're just like, oh, that was the worst thing ever, you just blame her, okay?
I will gladly blame Kim Trimble, absolutely.
I think she can take it. From what I can tell of getting to know her and doing her Auburn Roots, which was, oh gosh, I can't even remember now. I think that was like episode 18 or something like that. A few of them back. She is one that can stick up for herself.
Absolutely, she can.
But anyway, enough about Kim Trimble. This is about your story and your Auburn roots. Let me start off with this question. This is just popping in my head here real quick. Why Auburn? Obviously, we'll get into your story as a whole, but if you just kind of had to be a general sense, why do you continually choose Auburn?
I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and my father graduated from Auburn, and my aunt, Laura Mae, graduated from Auburn. When I was about 5, maybe 6, Daddy took me to the Auburn games. I had 3 sisters, so out of the 4 girls, I was the one that went fishing with him and loved sports, and that's just something we did that he did with me, and really not the other girls. Just wasn't their interest at that time. So just being at Auburn, I developed a love for it. At that time, Columbus was, of course, it's right across the Chattahoochee. It's very, very close in proximity. And Columbus was mostly Auburn fans at that time. I know UGA is trying to make a claim on it now, but still War Eagle.
It's just like the UGA fans. They think they can swoop in here and, try to take over territory close to Auburn. The funny thing is, though, and I think you can speak to this a little bit too, there's a big Auburn presence up here in northern Georgia, at least that I've found in my location. I never reveal exactly where I am, but I'm up in northwest Georgia. You, I think, are in northeast Georgia, if I have that correct, relatively speaking, in terms of Atlanta. Exactly. And all that kind of stuff. Do you find right now, like speaking in the present day, that the Auburn presence is pretty significant up there?
It is. Oh, in the Atlanta area, absolutely. That's where I am, outside of Atlanta. The Auburn Alumni Club is huge. And it's people assume that the Tiger Walk banner lives in Auburn, and it doesn't. It lives 30 miles from Athens, Georgia.
Which that's the thing is, like, when you said that, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like that, but then I'm also thinking, actually, I do like that, because now I don't know how many UGA fans you tell that. You might want to be careful about that.
All of them. All of them. My neighbors, all of them.
The neighbors, I'm fine with you telling it, but if you tell the wrong UGA fan, they might run it. They tried to burn down the trees a couple of times. So
you want unsuccessfully, right?
Absolutely. So we might want to be careful with that. And we're going to talk a lot about that banner and Tiger Walk specifically with your story here. So you kind of already got into it a little bit. Growing up in Columbus, Georgia, with your family, it was a strong family ties there as well. What's growing up in Columbus like outside of being an Auburn fan? Shape that up for me.
Outside of being, I don't truly, when I think of being outside of Auburn, that doesn't resonate. I do other things, but there's always parts of the Auburn Creed that just shape your life.
Mhm.
And I know little things like my clothing is mostly orange and blue. When people give me gifts, it's going to be something Auburn, but Auburn is, you've heard it over and over. Auburn is not a place. Auburn truly is what the creed is about. It's a feeling you have. It is family. Kim called it soulful. These are true. So everywhere I go, I when people say, if I hear anything negative, I say, I am Auburn. So, we're not down on other fans. They can say and do what they want, but we always welcome everybody into our tailgate. It's huge. It's fun to get people from opposing teams and people who are coming just because they've heard of Auburn and just want to see a big game, or especially for the Auburn Alabama game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to welcome people in like that.
So you talked a lot about earlier about being in Columbus. UGA tries to stake their claim since it's technically the state of Georgia still, but we kind of annexed Columbus, I feel like, because it's so close. That little whole area right there. Did you get invaded by Alabama fans too much over there?
No. No. Truly didn't understand that part of the rivalry when I was a child. Of course, when I was a student at Auburn, it was not UGA anymore. It was Bama.
So you had a different perspective growing up, where you had to deal with the UGA fans a lot. But you get to a later part in life when you actually get there, and you kind of realize, oh wow, there's bigger rivalries, bigger scope of this whole Auburn fandom thing than even I grasped in my little world of Columbus, Georgia.
Exactly.
Which, in my view, I don't know if you agree with this. Would you say that Columbus, I know it's technically a bigger city, but is Auburn and Columbus somewhat similar in terms of like style or feeling of that particular type of place?
Well, this is a funny story. I remember the drinking age. I know that Alabama was dry and Georgia wasn't. And on the weekends, everybody went to Nichols Alley in Columbus. And that was the big thing when we were in school. Mainly, I remember my dad was such an avid Auburn fan that he took us. I remember I had 3 sisters, so it's a big family. We went to the bowl games. We went, actually, the greatest bowl game, one of the first ones was 1971. We went to the Gator Bowl and saw Pat Sullivan and Archie Manning. Oh my goodness, Archie Manning still had a cast on. I think he had broken his arm and he played in a cast, and we won that game. And oh gosh, we had an old green station wagon, and at that time we didn't have magnets or decals. We decorated the car ourselves, and that's hilarious looking at some of the pictures we had then. But that's what we did. Fabulous game. Pat Sullivan was always such a gracious guy. I do have his autograph, and he's from Pat Sullivan to Cindy, and I still have it. So proud to have that autograph.
See, I love to hear about times when people grew up in those type of areas. That's something that I don't actually have a awareness of, because I wasn't born then, but also just because I don't have that strong of a connection to the history. I value that part of Auburn's history. I think it's great and look back, but you actually experience some of that. Is there like a clear difference between like being an Auburn fan in say the 1960s and 70s versus now, like that or is it still pretty much the same?
No, it's very different. I think because of social media, there are many, many more people, but there's a lot of change going on everywhere. But even when you look at downtown Auburn, huge changes. It's hardly recognizable from last year to now. You have to remember, my freshman year, the women still had curfews.
Mm-hmm.
We were in dorms. Students didn't live in apartments everywhere. We didn't have transit, Tiger Transit. It was just very, very different. That changed my sophomore year. I remember that we had to be in the dorms at 11 o'clock. And I remember they called my dad on me one time, and And he just laughed. I said, thank you. And then the next year, they allowed men in the dorms, but you had to yell down the hall, man in the hall or man in the dorm or something. It was, goodness, I'm dating myself. But
My have times have changed.
well, thank goodness, right? Right. So I think, yeah, we were much more centralized at that time.
Mhm.
I remember the Coliseum. Of course, we used the Coliseum. We had some of the best concerts. We had Elton John. Elton John was big my freshman year, and he came to Auburn. Everybody stood up the whole time. We saw Chicago there. We saw Elvis Presley came. Gosh, that was packed. That was shortly before he passed away. And I just remember that. We had free movies at Langston Hall, and there was always something to do. You could find a group of friends anywhere and do things. One of the best things. Those who did have cars, there was a gasoline war at the time. So gas was 50 cents, and then all of a sudden it was 25 cents a gallon.
Interesting.
So in that respect, it's changed quite a bit.
Absolutely. But see, what I'm hearing through all of this with you explaining this, yeah, it does sound like there are some things different, but at its core, it's still the same because, during my time at Auburn, we had some similar things, concerts, we had people come to, visit campus and things like that. And it's just nice to hear that, those are some similarities that the different generations share, those experiences outside of athletics, the students still experience to this day. So that's right. That's a nice connection because we often forget, we're, some of us are separated by decades sometimes, but there are still some similarities, and it all goes back to the creed, like you said.
Yes. And the traditions. Auburn has never been afraid of the traditions, like Hay Day. Mm-hmm. Not many universities would do that. We still celebrate Hay Day, and it's just being nice and friendly. That's one of my favorite traditions, Hay Day.
Well, before we talk more about your time actually at Auburn, let's reverse back just a little bit. And you told me a few memories from childhood or just before you got to Auburn, some games and things like that. Anything else come to mind about your Auburn experience growing up in Columbus, or even going to certain athletic events or other things, or anything about the city? Because you talked a lot about how it's changed even now. What are some things you remember about Auburn as a whole back then?
Well, you could walk on campus. You could drive through campus. That's very different. Of course, you could drive through. Mainly, yes, I actually have a picture of Auburn when I was a freshman. I went on top of Haley Center and took a picture. And to look at it now and see how it's grown with buildings, with now there's no car access throughout the campus. The athletics have really sprouted. The equestrian's huge. The veterinarian school's taken off. We have osteopathy now, and I probably would have a different degree had I been at Auburn now. Yeah, I know I would have. I'm an occupational therapist now, but I had to go to the Medical College of Georgia to get that degree.
I'm sorry.
Well, I know, and actually I've talked to Auburn. I said, you have everything. You have speech and hearing, you have psychology, you have nursing, you have rehab, you have everything but OT and PT. We have to leave to get that degree, but it might happen someday.
Any other big games, whether any sport that come to mind in your adolescence before you got to Auburn?
Oh, my parents would go to Auburn, Alabama games in Legion Field. We went to one of them, but of course I remember 17-16. I remember I was a high school senior. I remember listening to it on the radio and knowing that my parents were there, and absolutely just couldn't believe that game. And to me, that's probably the greatest game that Auburn had. The likelihood of Bill Newton blocking 2 punts and David, how could that happen? That the same 2 people blocked a punt and caught the ball and ran it in for a touchdown, and then Gardner Jett, of course, kicking that last point for Auburn to beat Bama 17-16. Punt Bama punt was on everybody's bumper sticker. It was hilarious. But the thing I remember too, and I still have this poster, is Shug Jordan when he went up to Bear Bryant. There was no gloating. He calmly put his hand up on Bear's neck, and you could feel the compassion. It's like, yes, I know how you're feeling. It wasn't gloatful at all. It was very respectful, and two friends who were just in battle.
Absolutely. You know, the phrase quiet strength comes up a lot. We've talked about it on a previous Auburn Roots, and I think it's even something they've had, I think in the press room or something. I have this image in my head, at least, of Coach Chiswick at the time was having a press conference, and the words quiet strength were behind him. And to me, that's what describes Shug Jordan. Would you agree with that statement?
I totally agree. He was such a gentleman. He actually, I think he started at Auburn when my dad started, and then he was there when I went to Auburn. It was his last year. I was so excited. I signed up for a football class because he was supposed to teach it, and he didn't. I think he may have been having some health problems, and they let somebody else teach that class, and I was so disappointed.
I would have had the same strategy as you, honestly. I was like, heck yeah, Coach Jordan's going to be in here. I'm taking this class.
Oh, he's teaching it. Oh, I signed up immediately. And oh yeah, we had drop an ad where you had to stand in line to sign up for your classes. It was so that part's changed too. That's easier to sign up for classes.
Well, you've already segued right into what I wanted to kind of get more into is your time at Auburn. You arrive in 73 and you're there through 77 when you graduate. An obviously important era in Auburn athletics history, but an important era for you as well to get your degree from Auburn. So take me back to, you're a lifelong Auburn fan. It's in your blood. It's in your family. You arrive on campus that first day, week, month. What do you remember about arriving officially as an Auburn student?
Oh gosh, I remember it was my dream. So I am here, and Mom and Dad drove away. And I was in dorm 9, and they were building the Eagles cage right outside of my window. I got to watch that, and for a while the eagle was housed right outside my dorm. Oh gosh, that was tremendous. And I remember too, that's when streaking started. I remember being in a big field. I think it was the intramural field, and all of a sudden people were taking off their clothes and running around. I thought, what is this? I did not.
Thank you for the clarification on that.
I did not partake. But I remember that, and oh gosh, and we used to climb through the window and go out on the roof, or the balcony rather, and sunbathe, and that's how we developed some of our closest friendships. A lot of us were just matched with a roommate at Auburn, and our freshman year was fabulous. And then I did join a sorority, and it was housed in dorm 3, which was the Alpha Chi dorm, and that was located right outside of Haley Center. So through that suite window, I could see the concourse, and most of my classes, because I was in education, were located in Haley. So 5 minutes before class, I could just run down there, and everybody socialized on the concourse. Football players, just everybody. I remember there was always something going on, things being sold or events going on the concourse. Just a great meeting place.
I don't think that's changed at all, because I still remember, you couldn't get down the concourse without someone trying to hand you a flyer, trying to get you to sign up for this. So it sounds like that was pretty much the same back then too.
Right, that too. But you would say, well, meet me at the concourse between classes, and we would do this and that. But at that time, you could actually go on top of Haley, and the view was spectacular. That I think it's closed off now, but and I remember people getting lost all the time too. They would go in one door, and 30 minutes later, going, excuse me, you're going in circles, and we know it. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I always talk to people about Haley, and I swear to this day, we've still lost people in there. Like, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. Somebody went in there in the I don't even remember when it was erected, but the beginning of time when it was erected, they're probably still lost in there to this day. It's like a vortex.
Well, it's true. You try to say, meet me at the bookstore, because University Bookstore was located in one of the quads. And oh goodness, if they were 30 minutes late, you knew they were there. They just couldn't find the bookstore.
Some things they just don't change. People getting lost in the Haley Center.
I know.
It's one of those buildings that I think we all love to kind of joke on it and hate on it, quote unquote, to a certain degree. But I think if we ever lost it, that would like be a piece of us, leaving as well, because like, who else has the Haley Center? I mean, come on. So
I know, and I'm sure it needs renovations and all, but gosh, yes, what a focal point that was for us at that time.
What I love that you described, going through some of your stories there, some of the views that you had from your different dorms. I didn't know that some of the dorms were close enough that you could view the old eagle cages when they used to be near the stadium. Did you ever make any trips over there to go say hello to the eagle?
Oh, every day. It was literally outside of my door. I mean, half a football field. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the eagle was right there.
See, that's I would be very jealous of you, because I actually worked at the Raptor Center now, and I'm a big bird guy.
Oh, yes.
And so that would have been like a dream for me, to be able to wake up, look out there and see an eagle spreading its wings, sunning itself or something like that. I'm like, if this is not the most Auburn thing ever, I don't know what is.
It was. And when they dismantled it, it was a sad day. And I know they needed to, because, the area needed just to be better. But
absolutely.
But we enjoyed every minute of that and never took it for granted. The eagle was ours. It was right outside the dorm.
And you had a view of the quad, which you've already talked about a lot, or the concourse, where all the activity happens, the meeting up and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that's still similar to this day. Now, yes. You joined a sorority. What was that experience like? Did you enjoy that? Or was that where a lot of your friendships created?
I loved it, because I met so many new people. Eventually actually became president. I loved it that much.
You certainly did, if you want to go that level with it.
I did, but was never stuck just in the sorority. There was too much else at Auburn. You could do fraternities, sororities. In fact, I was little sister for Phi Delta Theta. That was my dad's fraternity. So I kept, I did keep that part, but also being in education for a PE degree, I was in the sports areas a lot and thoroughly enjoyed. And at that time, I had a better appreciation for what it took to be a student athlete at Auburn. The dedication, how isolated they had to be because of the discipline that being in that sport required when you're on scholarship. Absolutely. Very different from me just, floating around, going to my classes.
Well, as you said that you graduated with a degree in education, focusing on physical education. Is that something that you always thought you wanted to get into when you first arrived, or did it kind of evolve while you were there?
Oh, it evolved.
Okay.
I first thought I was going into art, and then I changed. I called my parents and said, these people are too good. I mean, these people are already graphic designers. They're so far above what I thought I was. So I said, but I really am enjoying the sports opportunities here. So, and I think I'd like to teach children. So I got into education.
And you work the two passions in there together with the whole physical education side of that thing. And as you said, it gave you an appreciation now, not just as a fan of Auburn athletics, but actually getting to see a little bit closer than some of us do what those athletes have to go through day in and day out. And so obviously having the sympathy for that, but also having the appreciation for you now understand the product that they're putting on the field, what it took to get to that point. And let's be honest, there's been some pretty good products resulted on whatever field or court or arena that they were playing in. So that's great perspective.
Oh, yes. Now, of course, football, that's when Shug Jordan left and Doug Barfield took over. But we were not just football fans as students. Basketball was hot. Basketball, oh my gosh. We had Mike Mitchell was there. And Eddie Johnson, oh my gosh, Eddie Johnson could fly through the air. We just thought he was the greatest thing. So I know we have the jungle now, and it is so impressive. I love our new arena, and I love the jungle, and I really wish the current players could experience that, because it is tremendous. But we never sat down at the basketball games. It was huge. And Harvey Glantz ran track when I was there. He was an Olympian. Being a PE major, we all knew he was there. And but tennis was big. The equestrian program was of course not what it is today. I'm so proud of that group. They are certainly champions.
Yeah. And so you've actually now seen that program like that come from its little infancy to now being literally unbeatable. What should be, as we're recording this, just to date the episode a little bit, they're technically going to be getting ready to compete for their what should be fourth in a row national title if COVID-19 had not taken the third away. We're just going to count it by default. I think that's a fair statement, because nobody was going to beat them last year.
I think it's fair, but if anybody ever has the opportunity to go to the Raptor Center or to just look at the gorgeous horses that are out there, just parking at the vet clinic and looking across, it's gorgeous. These are beautiful animals, and they're well taken care of. And it's a pleasure to watch that evolve.
Absolutely. It's definitely developed into one of the things that Auburn University is known for. They're known for many things, obviously the athletics, but obviously as academics as well, whether it be architecture, whether it be engineering, but the veterinary side and just the natural sciences have really, grown over time with Auburn. So you've seen that evolve a little bit there. What are some big games, big sports moments that you remember while you were there at Auburn?
Oh, as a student, let's see. I know we didn't have the most wins in football when we changed coaches, but it didn't stop the students. And we dressed, oh my gosh, we dressed in heels and that time pantyhose. and we sat in the broiling sun and cheered our team on. You just went and you supported your team, and that's what you did.
Here's a good question.
Win or lose, it didn't matter.
Here's something I'm thinking about right now, because you mentioned the way y'all dressed and how it was hot and stuff. Do you think it's any hotter now at Auburn compared to when you were a student?
It's still hot, but now they dress appropriately.
I don't know. I've seen some of those fraternities in their full suits, and I remember one day just looking at one of the guys in line thinking, I'm like, dude, is it worth it? I mean, come on, to wear those suits to a 99,
that's true,
100% humidity day. I was like, I know you enjoy this probably, and you're glad you did it, but I'm just looking at you, and I'm looking at me, and my shorts and
a t-shirt
and my sandals. And I'm like, hey, I'm still burning up over here.
Absolutely. Oh gosh.
So you can relate to that a little bit there. Any fun memories or time in classes that you remember or classes that you remember that you really enjoyed?
I do remember, I loved the psychology. I loved the kinesiology ones. Very, very dedicated. I loved that everything was close, and if you needed extra help, there was always a professor there at Haley. You just walk over and find them and get extra help if you needed it. I remember intramural sports was a lot of fun, and what else? Gosh, it was
so many different things.
Well, it is, and I keep. Two of my sisters came to Auburn, so we had that. I just remember being very busy with sorority, and we had, being in health and PE and recreation, we had a lot of 3-hour classes, which meant you were always moving 18 hours, 20 hours on the quarter system. So my classes actually kept me pretty busy.
Well, with everything that you've shared here during your time at Auburn, I'm surprised you had time to sleep, because if it
Oh
didn't,
yeah,
all the classes, all the events, whether
and Chihuahua. I forgot about. We used to go to Chihuahua Park.
yeah, I know then that's still a very popular thing for a lot of students to do. So did y'all take a lot of breaks out there and just to get away
Yes.
from all the hubbub from classes?
Oh, absolutely. You'd have 20 in a Jeep going down, going down to Chihuahua. Yes, just to relax and dip your feet in the water and or play frisbee. A lot of the guys brought their dogs and played frisbee catch with the dogs. It was just very relaxing and beautiful, and it still is today.
The theme that keeps coming up in this episode is the more things change, the more they just stay the same as
Stay the
well.
same.
Just in a different way. Absolutely. So you
That's
graduate in 1977, proud Auburn graduate. You've got that degree, and you can, wave that in all of the Alabama fans' faces because they didn't even graduate. I'm kidding. I know that's being mean. I won't be mean to them, even though it's true. Tell me about life outside of Auburn as you grow up. We'll get to this certain big thing with Tiger Walk in just a second, but tell me about from then until now, being an Auburn fan, being a graduate. What do you get involved in? What's your life like after that?
Okay, so I did get married to Ron, and we met in Atlanta, and he was a shortstop for Citadel baseball and had never been to an Auburn game. So, one of our very first date, sports brought us together. We went to a Braves baseball game, and I think he was a little skeptical, wondering how much I knew the sport. And I said, well, okay, I'll go to the game with you, but I want to sit in section 16, and I usually sit on that front row because that's Claudell Washington's spot, and I sit behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, that's when Bob Horner was there, Dale Murphy. And Ron asked me about Dale Murphy. I said, well, I know he's Mormon. And at that time, the lightning hit, and we were on our first day. We were out in the concourse in this horrible thunderstorm right after I said that. And that was our first date. But baseball was real big. Of course, it was big to him, and it still is. And we support Auburn baseball. We get season tickets to that, and basketball and gymnastics and football, and try to continue to support Auburn sports.
It
Auburn
sounds like
athletics.
you still don't have any time whatsoever between, you substitute classes for every season ticket known to man.
Oh yeah, it did get busy. We have 4 daughters. That really made life busy.
I was about to say.
Yes, that, and now we have 3 granddaughters. So Ron continues to be outnumbered greatly. But
We'll pray for Ron and everything he has to deal with. Now, maybe I missed it. Is your husband an Auburn fan as well? It sounded like that was a yes.
He is now. He graduated from the Citadel, and like I said, he was on scholarship there for baseball. And his first game, I think, yes, he knew we were going to continue dating. This is where I go.
So you better accept it. This is where we go.
Yeah, just try it out, see how you like it. Oh no, he fell in love with it. The atmosphere, the fans, truly the camaraderie, everything about Auburn. Obviously, if he's taken a Tiger Walk banner around to games, he's sold in. Yes,
absolutely. So what are some big sports moments or big Auburn moments that you have between that time and the Tiger Walk banner becoming a reality? Do you remember any of those, or anything come to mind?
Before the banner,
yeah.
Well, there was always a group congratulating or cheering on the players as they entered the stadium. And so I think, you talk about Tiger Walk, it was started by the fans, and it still is run by the fans. It's not a university event. They supply the players, I guess, but it's really the fans just trying to say, hey, we know what you do for Auburn, and we are behind you, and we're cheering you on.
And there's a reason that so many other fan bases now try to have a quote unquote Tiger Walk or a Tide Walk. I don't know what you call it. I think the Tide calls it the Walk of Champions. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever.
The copycats. That's okay. I know. I did have a gentleman tell me that Georgia had the greatest thing, and it's called the Dog Walk. And I said, oh my gosh. I said,
you just don't even know.
I know. Well, he does now, but that was straight up Auburn. And y'all, you've done well to copy it. It's a great tradition for any school. So I think all athletes need to be cheered on. And but Auburn really started cheering on their players in the 60s.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So anybody that imitates us, we're going to just say, hey, we did it first. We do it the best. But hey, you can keep copying us all you want.
It is. And I think being on the road too has given us a lot of memories and again, it's regardless of the season that Auburn football is having, just to arrive at a game and the players are being bused from their hotel to the out-of-town stadium, and then to see their fans under a banner saying, we're here. We actually followed you here. Let's get it on.
It's a little bit different than when you show up in a stadium, and of course the fans are going to be there, but when they're waiting for you on an away game, right. To me, that would say something about, wow, this is a little bit different.
That says a lot because it's 2 hours before the game.
Yeah.
Now,
shows a commitment.
It's quite a commitment, and it's huge. I'm always so proud of the Auburn fans.
Hey, Auburn fans, I want to take a quick timeout from this episode to bring your attention to something very special. Here at the E2C Network, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best content for Auburn fans out there. And best of all, it's free to you. But just because it's free doesn't mean there aren't costs, especially when you have a library of hundreds of podcasts, videos, blogs, and more. Many of you have reached out and asked how you can support this network in the past. Well, now I have your answer. It's called the E2C Network Booster Club over at patreon.com/E2C Network. There you'll find a membership monthly reward system where you can sign up for as little as $1 and get different perks at different tiers. Some of those perks include things such as apparel, eligibility to join us on future podcasts, recognition as an E2C Network booster, exclusive communications, and bonus content that is available nowhere else. If you love this network and want to help us keep producing podcasts like this one, please head on over to patreon.com/E2C Network to join the E2C Network Booster Club. You can also get there by going to our website, e2cnetwork.com/support. Whether you decide to join or not, we are still so appreciative that you would support us by just listening and being here, because each and every one of you is part of our E2C Network family. Well, that's it. Timeout's over. Let's get back into the episode.
So now let's talk about this banner that you and many others have had a hand in bringing to reality. I want you to tell me the story about this, but let me just paint the picture for everybody. And I would suspect that most people are at least familiar with Tiger Walk and have probably have been there, if not once, but many, many times. If you'll recall and kind of set the scene for you, there's a sea of, I would almost say 100,000 people, but we know that's probably not true. You probably can't fit that many, but there's tons of people on this. But you look up on the hill and you can see the buses forming, but there's always this banner that's dead center, it feels like, right in the middle of Tiger Walk alley, at least we'll call it, there on Donahue. You see this banner and you just kind of know this is where I'm supposed to be, if the thousands of people didn't give it away. But you guys are the originators of this banner that has Tiger Walk on it. It's signed by the players. Tell me a little bit about how that became a reality.
Well, it used to be that Auburn Fan Day was held in the Coliseum. So we could take the banner, and if you remember the current Coliseum, I'm not sure what it's used for now besides offices, but it's circular. And the players would be seated at tables all the way around the Coliseum, and we could put the banner down and have all of the offense sign it, and then all of the defense sign it, and we were done. Things are very different now. It's very hard to get the signatures now, but the players bought into it, and they would tell their parents where they signed. And so during Tiger Walk, a lot of the parents will come up, especially at away games. They want to see where their son signed. So it originated when we lost Pat Dye, and there was a lot of talk about some negative things going around, and players were listening to it. Fans were giving opinions. People outside of Auburn were giving opinions, and a lot of it was none of their business. But just social media was interfering with the nice Tiger Walks and the nice atmosphere that we had at Auburn. So we were trying to think of something that the NCAA could accept that happened at Auburn without getting into trouble. And we thought, well, we could bring a banner to the games and hold that up and let the players go under it so that they know their fans are there for the purpose of supporting them. So Dick Glenn and his wife Harriet and his two brothers live in Enterprise, and he knew of someone who could make this banner. So we made it and started taking it to the home games, and we would take it to some of the away games. But so that's what it was about. And we did take it to away games, because I remember seeing Terry Bowden in some of the away hotels, and he would ask about the banner. So he was aware that we were there and would have that set up when the players went to the stadiums.
So is the banner the original still from the very beginning to this day, or has it had different iterations or changes to it?
Many changes. We're actually on the 7th banner.
Mm-hmm.
And we also realized later that the original banner, the home banner, is very large and heavy. And if we were going to all the away games, sometimes it's only 2 people taking it. So we have a travel banner, which is a little smaller and lighter. But because we have 2 banners, we were able to send a banner up to say, New York. The banner was there for the Heisman Awards when Cam Newton was up for it and won, and Trey Mason, right? The banner was there too, and Auburn alumni. I mean the New York Auburn alumni group meets for watch parties at St. Pat's, and my daughter is secretary of the alumni group there, and we have let her take the away banner sometimes for opening game or some watch party there. And
nice.
So and we took it to Madison Gardens when the Madison Square Gardens when the basketball team played at Auburn. So we did have the banner there. So sometimes it shows up at basketball games as well. We took it to Omaha.
Wow.
Yeah, we took it to the national championship games.
So literally this, at least some iteration of this banner has been across this country and represented Auburn, represented the players, and represented the family. And I think that's a really cool thing that not a lot of people, most people maybe realize that, at least maybe, oh yeah, I did see that on TV, or I saw, some picture was with that there. But I think that's something that, that's great to bring up because, it's one of those small things we do as the Auburn family that connect us with each other. And it's like a little piece of us, something that we do traditionally and mainly here in Auburn, Alabama, goes to New York, goes to Arizona, goes here, goes there. That's really awesome that you guys share that experience.
Right. Oh, gosh. When you said about it being in pictures, it reminded me that we were anonymous for years, and Auburn needed to know who we were. And so somebody told them, and they called and they said, well, we know you don't have trademark licenses, but we really would like the Auburn logo and the trademarks on this banner. So they actually produced the last banner and travel banner. and use it for marketing purposes.
It's, that is like a true testament to the success of this whole thing, because just personally speaking, I haven't done a lot of investigating with trademark and licensing with Auburn and their logo and stuff, but I do know from some personal friends, some of the stories of how, not stingy is not the right word, but protective is the right word. They are, and rightfully so. But the fact that you have endeared yourself and everybody that's been involved in this process of creating this banner, envisioning this banner, and bring it to reality, have gotten to the point where you've got Auburn seeking you out for the licensing and trademark to get to work with you, that shows you how awesome this tradition is.
Oh, we absolutely embraced that opportunity because we recognize some of our banners looked amateurish. We recognize that, and they look so much better. Auburn did a fabulous job, but it is time to get a new one. So I need a contact to get this new one, because when we have a coaching change, or even after the national championship was won, we needed another banner. It's a new start for the team, and we're at that again. We have almost everybody in the coaching staff is new, so it's a new day for Auburn football, and we need to represent it.
Well, now you've heard a call to action, listeners. If you know who to talk to, we need to get it to Miss Cindy Terry, and so that we can get this banner situated. To work
with whoever, we'll come down to Auburn. We'll come down and work on that.
And see, I just think it's such a cool story, because it shows the trajectory of all this. It's something that was fan made, fan started, fan created, and then because you guys started this process, it caught on, people latched on to it. It forces the university to formally recognize it, and then it becomes this actual like formal tradition now. So now there's not a generation probably in my lifetime that won't associate that banner with Tiger Walk. Like that's just, something that I think is very special, and something that even if you're, as a kid growing up, you don't maybe think, oh, well, the banner is the thing that makes Tiger Walk. You're still going to, in your mind, look back and think, oh yeah, they did walk underneath that, and the players slap it. Speaking of which, that reminds me, have you ever had any mishaps with any of the banners? Have they ever broken or?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my goodness. And that is hilarious. Yes, because we use PVC piping, and in the cold, it will snap. So we have to make sure really that it's a tough vinyl. I think it's 36 gauge vinyl. I mean, it's real specific, and that the grommets are away from the side, and that there are some air holes in there to accommodate the wind. But yes, we've broken poles, and we've had to send people to get duct tape. We have duct tape, and we make sure we have orange and blue. So so we're using the Auburn colors when we have to repair the banner, but it still makes it. And we know too that if we have to just hold it up with two people, we will do that. Not that the players can go under it. I'm only 5'2", so I would probably grab another fan, a tall fan, to help us with that. But,
are you sure you don't have an engineering degree from Auburn? Because those terminology and stuff you were using there, grommets and all this stuff, I'm like, hold on, that sounds like Auburn engineering stuff right there.
And that's from having it ripped so many times and having to repair it with duct tape and my sewing machine and whatever we can find. So yeah, if you look closely, it's not real pretty. But I think the fans, especially at not just the home games, it's even the away games. Right after Tiger Walk, as we're trying to put it up, many people will come and want pictures, and we stay until the crowd's there, or if we're in a away game till security sends us off. And that's a big change too. Security was very lax when we initiated taking a banner, especially outside of Auburn. But now it's really tight, and many times the players don't even leave the bus. They drive under the stadium or into the stadiums, and that makes a lot of fans upset, but it's just the way it is. And the players can still see the fans and the banner and whatnot from the buses, and that's, we just have to accept that.
Yeah, and while that can be disappointing, as you said, for fans and athletes alike, the fact that the players still see that, and the fans arriving still see that. That's the meeting point. That is where we all need to be to make sure we all know that we're here together for this, whether it's in Auburn or whether it's in Lexington, Kentucky, whether it's in Tuscalooserville, Alabama, whether it's in Arizona. This is the place where you need to be, where we're showing support to each other.
You say Tuscaloosa. Some of these venues are pretty difficult.
I would imagine.
To have a banner in, especially if you're Auburn, and that one is one. We set up, and of course the players do not walk outside of the buses. They're driven behind the gates and they disembark there. But the Auburn fans are there by the hundreds, if not thousands. And Alabama people are blasting music, ridiculing us, and people just continue. Auburn just continues to party, and they wait for their players. And you have to do it. We've met so many parents of players at the away games. Nick Ruffin's mom, Renee Burgess, comes to mind. KJ Britt's family, his whole family, Tanya and Kenny, and his little brother is not so little. I'm sure he'll be playing somewhere too, Keenan. But just to be able to meet them and for them to connect with a familiar face is very, very important for these away games. Yeah. Stadium as big as Texas A&M. They're very accommodating, actually. Texas A&M. LSU, one year they sent us to the wrong gate on purpose. We were all lined up, had the banner up, and then we saw that the buses were going to let them out somewhere else. So here we are running with the banner up, and but we made it, and the players were able to walk under it. So and now LSU waits for us. They're looking for us, and they direct us through the crowds and help us set up. So things change over the years.
Absolutely. But as we said, some things change, but they stay the same still. And I don't know that it'll ever change at Alabama.
No, that's not going to change. But they told us we couldn't have a walk. And and we said, oh, okay. And we set up while they're telling us we can't do that.
Well, we could sit here and make jokes about other fan bases all day, but the fact of the matter is you guys put the effort in to have us have our meeting place as fans and athletes to come together as the Auburn family, which I think this is what this is all about, because while we have our different roles within the Auburn family, we're one big happy family. I know that's cliche and, somewhat cheesy to say it that way, but it's true. And that's what this is all about.
Oh, you have to give a shout out to the Auburn band too.
Oh yeah.
One of the memories was Auburn played USC, and that's in bowl game in Orlando, I believe. And USC, not South Carolina, I'm talking about Southern Cal.
Southern Cal.
Yes. Their band played their fight song only over and over and over. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, we all knew it. And Auburn fans started saying, boring, boring. Auburn band picks up their fight song and starts playing it. And the Auburn band, of course, if you can't get up for a game after hearing that band, oh my gosh, they're fabulous. So yes, all the traditions that make Auburn who they are and what they are.
Tradition recognizes tradition, and that makes them so special for all of the Auburn family here. Any other final stories or anything from, it doesn't have to be about the banner, that you would like to share before we wrap up our time here? We do have a little bit of a fun questionnaire to end with, but I want to give you any extra space you need to tell anything else about your Auburn story that you need. Auburn
has this wit about it. Like when we played West Virginia and it just poured down rain. Well, Auburn fans aren't leaving the game. They're not going to leave. And then the band starts playing all the songs they can think of, or about rain, and it's funny and it's supportive, and the fans stay, and gosh, we got soaked. But that's a memory. That's so much fun. I remember we went to West Virginia as well to a ball game there. Oh boy, that was interesting. We were met with their fans were in the parking lot with an old sofa, and everybody had moonshine. But oh my gosh.
The things that happen up in those mountains, man.
Yeah, it was a different atmosphere, but and they weren't so friendly, but and they beat us. But it was still an experience. And then when they came to us, it just poured down rain, but I think they had a good time.
That's a common theme I hear a lot of, from opposing fans, minus a few, is that they come to Auburn, and while of course, you get the friendly jabbing and jawing about the game and stuff like that, they usually have a pretty good experience. And I think that's a testament to the Auburn family as a collective. We always have our bad apples here and there, but that we try our best to make sure that when you come to Auburn, it's an experience that you walk away with at least saying, oh, that wasn't so bad. I could go back to a game here.
Right. And they have an understanding of what we mean by War Eagle, and that we are the Tigers and we have to be on the plains, and they have a better understanding of what that means. And that's something else we've noticed, it especially when we play a team that is new for us, is they will always the opposing fans will come up and say, "Roll Tide." And we laugh. We're like, "Oh my gosh, was that supposed to hurt?"
It's like, why are you cussing at me? I didn't know.
Exactly. What did we do to you? Well, what are you, the Eagles or the Tigers? And so,
and I'm like, and every time I get that question, I just both. I mean,
yeah.
that's obviously not the real answer. We're the Tigers, and
right.
We're
right.
I'm not gonna explain that to the Auburn fans, but we all understand that. But that's literally that's how I shut them up now. I'm just like, both. What of it? We're that good. We've got two names, two mascots, two things, two battle cries. It doesn't matter. We're that good.
We're twice as good. I mean, and it makes sense when they hear it. They go, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" Yeah, that's
absolutely
pretty cool.
Well, I've enjoyed hearing about your Auburn roots and about the banner's origination and some of the interesting things that happen with that. But what I'd like to do with you now is go through our not so rapid fire questions, where we have a little bit of fun, doing a little bit of this or that, pick your favorite this type of scenarios. Got about 12 of those. So if you're ready, we'll rock and roll with those.
Well, I'll do my best.
All right. We'll start off with I was about to say easy, but I think most people have at least to explain themselves with this answer. Question number 1, orange or blue?
It's my favorite. Burnt orange. It is burnt orange. I know. Pat Dye told me it wasn't burnt orange, and I did not argue, but I know it is. He said, that's Texas. And I said, that's Auburn. Auburn's navy blue and burnt orange. Those are our colors. I'll say burnt orange.
Okay. Question number 2 for you. Aubie or the War Eagles?
Aubie is such a beloved mascot, ever changing, ever evolving, hilarious, speaks to the fans, about the fans, and about Auburn. I'm going with Aubie.
Awesome. And now you are safe from the minions of Aubie, because they will come after you if you don't pick Aubie in this scenario. He loves his Eagles, as I always say, but don't mess with Aubie and his minions.
Aubie can embarrass you, though, in a picture moment.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God. Well, that's, you can be his best bud, and he will he will cover your face as the cameras click in, or rub your head. But it's a lot of fun.
I gotta tell you, I know this is not my story, but since you said that, I gotta tell you this recent story with him. So I was at an Auburn soccer game about 2 years ago, and it had started raining, so I brought an umbrella out. Well, unfortunately, this umbrella, and it was not the team, like this team's umbrella, but like it just, for some reason, had an elephant on it, and I forgot.
Oh.
Aubie, in the rain, came storming through the puddles at me and like just stomped his feet, splashing water all over me, and pointed at the umbrella. Like, I'm like, what, Aubie? What do you want? And then I pulled it down, and I was like, oh no, he grabbed it and ran away with it. It was the funniest thing ever.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So I'm stuck in the rain, and I actually had like camera equipment. I was taking video and stuff for the stuff we do here on the network. I was like, well, I guess I'm just getting my stuff wet now, but I guess I deserve it for having an elephant umbrella out here.
Yes, and good for Aubie to seek you out and remove that.
Remove that heinous crime from our venue.
But the costumes he uses during the games, if you just make it a point to look at Aubie throughout a football game. He's dressed in all the pom-poms, or he's dressed in something about the opposing team that is just hilarious. What a mascot. Yes. So I said Aubie.
One of a kind. Question 3, your favorite part of the Auburn fight song. It can be a word, a phrase, but your favorite part of the fight song.
Fearless and True. Fearless and True.
It's a very solid one. I like that. Question 4, your favorite Auburn athletics program. So football, basketball, all the way down to equestrian. You had to pick one. What's your favorite?
What's this? I carry the banner to the football ones. I'm going, woo. I'm more involved with football, but like I said, I still get season tickets to basketball, baseball, gymnastics. So football.
I was going to say it's probably an easy pick, but I understand the not wanting to play favorites part of that. Well, let's keep playing favorites. Question 5, your favorite Auburn athlete of all time.
Oh gosh, all times. My favorite. Okay. I think the greatest athlete ever, of course, is Bo Jackson. I have never, I don't have a personal friendship with him, but when you say favorite, I'm thinking Roderick Hood of Columbus, Georgia. He had to make his own film and sell himself as a walk-on at Auburn. And when we think of walk-ons, we think of Kevin Green, but Roderick Hood did quite well at Auburn, and just a beautiful person. He was there with Kendall Simmons, another one that, and this is too what Tiger Walk allows us to do. We get to know the players just a little differently. I remember Kendall being an artist, and now he's back at Auburn, and he is doing his artwork. I think he makes, he's going to kill me. I want to say like Wonder Heroes type things, but he's still using his artwork as he works with the football program. These players aren't there just to play football. There's so much more to them, and when you get to see that side, it's really special.
Mm-hmm. Deepens the bond. It definitely deepens the bond. Question 6 for you. Your favorite Auburn coach. Any sport, anytime.
Say Pat Dye.
Pat Dye. That one stings a little bit right now, but
it hurts tremendously. But Pat Dye, because he remained down to earth, and you could go to his farm, you could see what he does with I lost the name of the tree.
Japanese maples.
The Japanese maples. Oh my gosh. And you could purchase one, you could work with him. He would take you around the grounds. He certainly did that with us. You go through the lodge and you see pictures of him when he worked at Alabama, his Georgia ties, his Auburn ties, and not a boastful word from him ever. Just very down to earth and glad to be at Auburn. He really appreciated Auburn.
There was a coach if there was ever a coach, I think, that defined Auburn, and it's easy to go to Suge on that one. And I think that's a very true statement, but there's something about the time and the place in which Pat Dye came into our lives that was serendipitous.
I almost said Suge, but no, Pat Dye, because personally, remember, Suge didn't teach my course.
I was holding that against him.
But Pat, I got to meet in person, so a little different.
I understand why you're paying favorites there then. Question 7, your favorite Auburn non-athletics person. So this can be a family member, a friend, a celebrity, a professor you had at Auburn, anybody that's not directly associated with the athletic department, but your favorite Auburn person.
Oh, it's not associated.
Not associated directly with the athletics department, like a coach or a player or a administrator or something like that. I guess an easier way to say this would be, when I think of Auburn, I think of this person.
Well, Harry Philpott was president when I was at Auburn, and I remember my father is very stoic, but I remember when I walked across the stage and received my diploma from Dr. Philpott, my dad teared up and was extremely emotional. And I remember he helped change things at Auburn when I was there. The curfews were gone, and he actually listened to the students when they aired some complaints or grievances. Yes, he really listened. So yes, Harry Philpott.
Awesome. I have not had him before, so that's a great new addition to that list.
A bit.
No, I actually love it when we get random ones, because it just kind of adds to the lore of this type of questionnaire. All right, question 8, your favorite Auburn building On campus, off campus, if you can make a case for it somewhere else in the country and world that it's still an Auburn building, I'll take it. But your favorite Auburn building?
Veterinary clinic.
Is it because of how much you love going out there to see the raptors and the horses like we talked about earlier?
Well, the reason I was out there was because they were treating our animals. So,
Okay.
and I live in outside of Atlanta, so I'm in Georgia. The fact that I take my pets to Auburn says a lot for their capabilities, but their oncology unit is tops.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so compassionate. When you leave your animal, when they take your pet back, when they bring them, they do their treatment and then they bring them back, they know something about your pet, and they're right. Something about the personality they'll divulge and say, oh, did you know your dog prances? Or they show that they took time to get to know your pet.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of them. Of course, the building would be Haley, just because of all my experiences there. But when I think of a building that's really done Auburn well, I'd have to say the small animal, large animal, oncology, veterinary clinics.
You're the first one to bring up the vet clinic, so that's a great addition to that list. Love
good.
it. All right. Question 9, your favorite Auburn place to eat?
Well, my favorite one was
as applicable here. Yeah.
Okay, it was Santa Freeze. Oh my goodness, late nights just walking up to Santa Freeze, and then they called it Santa Flush, and then they tore it down. But it was just a little hole in the wall that had great foot-long hot dogs with chili or ice cream cones, and it was a social gathering place.
Mm-hmm. We've had many people lament about the loss of the Santa Freeze Flush, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
on this show.
Mama Goldberg's was started though when I was at Auburn.
Yeah, it's easy for me to go to places like that, but I love hearing about the older ones like that are no longer with us, because it's kind of like, oh, why didn't I get to experience these type of things?
Oh, Copper Kettle's gone. Copper Kettle was where Hamilton's is now. Well, you probably know this. And there was a gas explosion, and there is no Copper Kettle anymore.
It is gone.
Yeah, that one's way gone.
All right, question 10. Your favorite Auburn tradition? I think this is an easy one for you, but I don't know. Maybe we can find a favorite. No.
And I do love the Eagle Flight, but of course it has to be Tiger Walk. I put too much time and heart into that one, not to call it my favorite tradition.
Thought we might have to struggle on that one just a little bit, but I'm glad that we worked through that and got to a definitive decision on that. Question 11, your favorite Auburn memory?
Oh, there's so many. It's not just a one-time moment, but anytime at the games when we hear the Star Spangled Banner, we hear just the game time. I know my sister and I, and I've lost her. We were so close, but we would stand there and just tear up. It was so great to be home at Auburn, and the fact that we felt the same about the importance of sharing Auburn.
Mm-hmm. It's a great memory, or memories, as you said.
I know it's repetitive. It is
still a good one.
We were the same way with the creed. In fact, used the creed as her eulogy and took it part by part to talk about her, because that's one. It was hard to get through, hard to read it without, understanding the importance of why Auburn's loved the way it is.
Absolutely. Question 12, your final question. Describe Auburn to me in one word other than family.
Everybody says family. You want to say family.
That's why I took it away from you.
You did. Okay. So I could say creed.
You
could. By
could.
Creed, I mean the Auburn Creed, because that speaks volumes. It's beautifully written, and it expresses Auburn in totality, I believe.
Let me have a question 12A to end us. What's your favorite part of the creed?
You mean when do I start tearing up?
Yes, I would say that's probably your favorite if it gets you every time.
The part that says I believe in my country. because it is a land of freedom and because it is my own home, and that I can best serve that country by doing justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with my God. And because Auburn men and women believe in these things, I believe in Auburn and love it.
Now, you weren't supposed to make me start tearing up.
Well, if I had read the whole thing, I wouldn't have gotten that far. But yeah, that's
Awesome.
That's Auburn, and it's a feeling that we share and we embrace, and we don't have to have words for it. You know when someone has the Auburn feeling, and War Eagle means everything, no matter where we are.
Well, Cindy, I usually have people give a final word to the Auburn family, but I don't know that we can do much better than that on your end, sharing the creed and sharing what you just shared there about how it's a feeling, even if you can't express it in words. So I think that's a great final thought for your Auburn story. I want to thank you for being willing to sit in with me for quite some time.
Oh, you were wonderful. Really enjoyed meeting you. I would like to thank the Auburn fans, because as I tell people at the away games, if it weren't for the Auburn fans, Ron and I would look pretty dumb just standing there with a banner. So it's the fans that make it, and the fans that are so dedicated to the Auburn athletes, and we love every one of them.
So thank you to Cindy for joining us, and you, the Auburn family out there, when you're at Tiger Walk and you see that banner, come on up and say hello to Cindy and the rest of the crew over there that are holding that thing up, whether it's in the rain, the sleet, we don't get snow that often, but the conditions, it doesn't matter. They are there faithfully holding that banner up for not just the athletes, but you, the family, to come and meet them at Tiger Walk. Cindy, thank you again, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.